Hey, this is Kirk.
This is Bird. It's the Kirk and Bird Show. And we are back with our picks. It's playoff time. We've got one round down, and then we've got four more to go to. We'll be crowning 6 state champions. And I'm blessed to have with me today Jay Golson, the godfather of Prince William County sports, Jason Sterling, Dinwiddie's all-star wide receiver, and we've got Kirk Hilliard, three-sport athlete and nerd. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
FYI, the voice of freedom and the voice of Flint Hill girls volleyball.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, okay.
I want luxury suite tickets to that. And Flint
You
Hill
back
probably
somebody
has a
up. You
luxury
did 2 games, and now you're like the voice. Okay.
All right. So this is our weekly picks episode. I want to stress it is the Remax Jay Golson player of the week. Jay will pick a player of the week. Jay, I was thinking about this. We're going to announce Jay's player later in the episode. Do you want to give any hints, like a geographical hint, Jay Golson?
Prince William County.
Real quick, I've commented on here that people from all around the state are moving here. Military families in Hampton Roads that finish up their career down there, they come work for a contractor here. Where can they call you for pretty much the whole Northern Virginia area to get help with real estate?
Please call me at 703-517-8640.
Okay, so make sure that you call Jay. And then make sure that you subscribe to us and you follow us on Twitter at the Kirk and Bird Show. We're getting a lot of momentum with a forum that we've put together on Facebook, the 703-540 Nova High School Sports page. Brent Pry is a member of it. I don't know how much he checks it, but we'd love to have you there. We're putting more and more content out. We're getting a steady trickle there, and we're taking a lot of the content that we have on a daily basis and putting it there. All the content from here will be on there. So, Jay, real quick, I've commented on here that people from all around the state are moving here. Military families in Hampton Roads that finish up their career down there, they come work for a contractor here. Where can they call you for pretty much the whole Northern Virginia area to get help with real estate?
Please call me at 703-517-8640.
Okay, so make sure that you call Jay. And then make sure that you subscribe to us and you follow us on Twitter at the Kirk and Bird Show. We're getting a lot of momentum with a forum that we've put together on Facebook, the 703-540 Nova High School Sports page. Brent Pry is a member of it. I don't know how much he checks it, but we'd love to have you there. We're putting more and more content out. We're getting a steady trickle there, and we're taking a lot of the content that we have on a daily basis and putting it there. All the content from here will be on there. So much to talk about. There were some upsets. There were some big stories, but I think we would all agree that with this being our thing that we geek out on, this is our Dungeons and Dragons on Friday night. It's like now we're down to the second round, and there are some quality teams and big upsets. So I know it's getting exciting. So we want to go over last week and what happened last week. We do that, and then we're going to pick classes 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we are in the second round. So we'll pick those, and obviously we're going to pick some games to highlight. But what we're going to do is go over last week, go through these, do a little bit of a debrief. So we're going to start with Patriot was at Battlefield, and I was there. It got cold. There was fog. And this was a game that, quite frankly, guys, Battlefield had it all the way. I'm surprised Battlefield did not win by more. I was sitting with Dwight Vick, and we were like, the score could be a lot higher. I thought the Battlefield dominated the game. I thought they were more physical. I thought that they, matched up extremely well. They've got a lot of momentum now. With Jay and Rusty being in Prince William County, Jay, I want to start with you. You've been talking about Battlefield all year, and you're the only one of us that picked Battlefield. Jay Golson.
Well, like I said last week, Battlefield with Boggs, the Bukowski brothers, Woodson, They have too many athletes for Patriot. And actually, Cole Woodson, this is what surprises me. He has 3 pick sixes for the year as a defense. That's unheard of. Patriot, like I said, I mean, they have Jackson McCarter, they have Brian Rudd, they have Aarons, but at the end, you have athletes win the game. You have too many athletes. That's why I knew Battlefield was going to win at Battlefield. And this week they play against Colonial Forest. They play Mountain View this week, so that's what we'll talk about later on.
Yeah, that's going to be one. Rusty, how about you? You know all those people there.
Yeah, I watched the game online since I was out of town, and I was really surprised that Patriot didn't put up a little bit more of a fight. I just assumed that Patriot was holding some stuff back the week before and will maybe have some surprises for him. And it just looks like Battlefield was ready for any and everything that came their way. And but it showed that Battlefield is a quality team. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say a 10-0 team, had to prove it was a quality team. But if you look at some of their victories in their schedule, which most of it they couldn't help within the Cedar Run district, they hadn't really been challenged until Patriot the week before. But I think that was actually 2 good games for Battlefield moving forward. Patriot, I thought, had a good season, and the future is bright for them. And so, but that's a rivalry game, and right now Battlefield's got the edge.
And also, Battlefield held back the week before also.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they probably did. Yep. Yeah, they probably did. Yep, that's true.
Yep. I think Battlefield's got good momentum, and for Battlefield fans and parents, we are going to preview, stay on this episode, we are going to preview this week's game at Mountain View. Those are 2 undefeated teams that are not far apart. So make sure you stay tuned in. Now, the next game was a very, very good first round playoff game, and that was Dinwiddie and Eastern View. And Dinwiddie won this one 42-25. Rusty picked Eastern View 42-35, very close. I'm not that surprised with this, and I would say with Dinwiddie's losses being such quality programs, they're a physical, ram the ball down your throat team. And we also are going to preview Dinwiddie's game at King George this week, which is right there, if not the best game. By the way, Eastern View had a great season. That's a good team. That's a program that's really up and coming. So, 3 of us picked that one. So the next one, Westfield at Washington Liberty. Now, Jason Sterling, I believe you were at that game, so we're going to get a report from you.
Yeah, look, pretty impressed with Westfield on this. They're really coming on strong. I think most of us had that game. I don't know, Kirk, do you have the numbers there? Did we all grab Westfield in that game? That was a higher seed beating I think it was a 6 over 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. For some reason, I didn't put the score down, but we all had Westfield.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with Westfield. I think we all thought they were probably the better team, despite the seeding. Washington Liberty's schedule probably didn't lend them to some of the different competition that Westfield's played. But look out for Westfield. I mean, these guys have a pedigree of winning games throughout the playoffs. Several years ago, just coming off multiple championships. So they're going to have a tough game this week against another good team. But we'll see where this thing shakes out. But I like what Westfield's doing. They look really good. They were equally adept at passing and running. So I look for teams that have that balance, and they have that.
But so moving on. Because we do have a lot to talk about. Oscar Smith at Glen Allen, and Oscar Smith traveled to Richmond, and they're going to be going right back, guys. But looks like Jay, you picked Glen Allen 28-7. The rest of us picked Oscar Smith. Not really surprised here, even though I know Glen Allen's a great team. I think that Oscar Smith is going to be facing a great Highland Springs team this week. It's interesting that a lot of people think that Oscar Smith, can beat Highland Springs. That's a game we're not necessarily highlighting for this week, but so that's a great win for Oscar Smith. And that's a program, they've been there, they've done it, they've got some talent, they've got the athletes. They're just a little young. Jay,
I'll say this: it's hard to win with a ninth grade quarterback. It's a lot of pressure when you're going on the road with a freshman quarterback.
Okay, that's true. I didn't say that. But come November, you're no longer a freshman.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you that kid's gonna be a big time recruit too.
Oh yeah.
Got an offer I think this week.
I have no idea this young man's history at all, but I will tell you this, Jay. A lot of your freshman quarterbacks have reclassified. A lot. And that I've seen that more with that position than any other place, which is understandable because so much it's a lot to be a great quarterback. But I'll just say a lot of them I know that I coached and have been around reclassified.
Yeah.
All right. So the next game was Gainesville, Colonial Forge. And we all picked Colonial Forge. And we are going to stick around. We're going to be talking about Colonial Forge and Freedom because Freedom's going to start getting tougher and tougher opponents. So we're going to talk about that Colonial Forge Freedom game. Any comments on this? And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about how unbelievable Gainesville has done. Is this their third year or is it their second
year? Third year period as
Coach
open school in school. Only their second as a varsity program. Coach Bruton has done an outstanding job.
Yeah.
His staff, his coaches here as a leader, but he has a great assistant coaching staff.
I just feel that you're right, Rusty. I just feel that Gainesville was kind of starstruck. They had a first ever playoff game, different atmosphere, and it got out of hand, the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again,
great job this year for Gainesville. Great job.
They did this without their star player, who scored 5 touchdowns in the first game. Colvin Smith did not play after game 1. He scored 5. Some people their whole season didn't score 5. He did it in the first game, and they still went 8-2. And even with Colvin, they could have lost to Patriot and Battlefield, but so they had a great season.
Yeah, and that's 49-20 still a great season, but the Colonial Forge is a very good team.
Yeah.
Are they the quietest 10-1 team in the state?
Aren't they? Yes.
Yeah, we probably have them underranked in our Nova top 10 poll. And by the way, if you haven't heard, we have a Nova top 10. Rusty and I put it out, and then we also do about a 10-minute, 15-20-minute clip on it that we do as an episode. So,
hey, Kirk, thanks for twisting Rusty's arm last week to crank Stonebridge and barely get him into the top 10. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. I was like, 6-4, what?
25.
6-4, 10? Oh, okay.
Speaking of highlighting Rusty, all right, Kempsville and Cox. Rusty said he was going with Kempsville. Kempsville won 26-20. Guys, did y'all see the highlights?
What is this, Kirk? It's me running the option.
The highlights of that game was unbelievable. Really, really good ending. I do think that I said Kempsville could win this game, but and by the way, Kempsville is going to be facing, I believe, I know this, Indian River. Yeah, and that's going to be a good game too. We're not going to preview that game, but we will be talking about it. And that 6th region with Green Run as the number 1 seed. Green Run's been struggling some. 3 straight weeks, and Deep Creek was beating them most of the game. So look out, Green Run this week as well as next week. Green Run's going to be taking on a very good Salem team. So, from the highlighted games, what did we do? We did 6. I was 4-2. Rusty was 4-2. We were all 4-2. All right. So, well. The playoffs being in the second round, we've got less games. But we do want to go through the games from last week. And there's some popular topics. One would be Phoebus beating Jamestown 104-0. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about that. I went to Phoebus. Rusty and I were born and raised in Hampton. We know a lot of people, but we're going to go through that.
My dad coached football at Phoebus
Yep.
in the first couple of years that school was open. My dad was a coach.
We'll get to that, but let's just do this in order. Let's go through the games, and in the interest of time, we may do a little bit of commentary, but we're going to try to get through these, and then we're going to have a little bit of a talk about just some of the topics that'll roll into the Phoebus talk. So, guys, Hopewell beat Booker T. Look out for Hopewell. That's a very good team in Class 3. No surprises there. We all picked Hopewell. And then the next game we had was Heritage Grafton. We all went with the Newport News team, except for Rusty. He traded in his PD and went with the York County team, but Heritage prevailed. They've got a tough game coming up this week. Lafayette over Tab. Lafayette has a great game this week. They're a team that's rolling. I believe Lake Taylor's playing Lafayette, so that's Lafayette won that one 42-0. Lake Taylor, Colonial Heights. We all liked Lake Taylor. It's a tough place to go play. They won 38-0. Thomas Jefferson, Goochland. We all picked Thomas Jefferson. I would say this, though. You're going to find out how real Thomas Jefferson is in Class 4 because the competition is going to get tougher. Armstrong Kennedy, who Thomas Jefferson is going to be playing, they won over William Monroe. Rusty picked William Monroe. Everybody else went with Armstrong Kennedy. Brentsville Meridian, we all had Brentsville. Brentsville won 49-20. And they're going to be playing Kettle Run rolled over Skyline. You're going to be talking about that Brentsville Kettle Run game. So for all those folks at both of those schools, they have a rabid fan base. They really react to us on Twitter. They retweet things. By the way, we love when you retweet things because it gets more views, and we're going to be talking about that game, but no surprises there. Liberty Christian, Fluvanna County. Liberty Christian rolled 56-6, and again, that competition is going to be getting bigger. If we look at 4, we talk a lot about Phoebus, we talk about Tuscarora, we talk about Champ, and Liberty Christian is in that conversation.
They're running back Gideon Davis, who also stars on as a linebacker for them.
Yep.
He is hands down, and he separated himself as the best player in Class 3. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Yep, going to Clemson, already committed.
That dude gets off the bus. People look at him a different way, man.
He's a junior, isn't he, Jason?
No, I think he's a senior.
Is he senior? Okay, yeah,
a senior, but he looks the part and he plays the part, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Hey, the next game was Allegheny Rustburg. Everybody went with Rustburg, especially Rusty. I picked Allegheny. I was wrong about that one. All right, moving on. And we got Turner Ashby over Heritage. That was 26-14. We all picked that game right. Spotswood, Monticello. That was 21-14 Spotswood. We all got that game right. Magna Vista, number 1 seed. Stanton River, 35-13. We all picked Magna Vista. Christiansburg, 26-3 over Abington. We all picked Abington, or Christiansburg, excuse me. William Byrd over Pulaski County. We all picked William Byrd. All right. Lord Botetourt over Bassett. That was split. Rusty and I picked Botetourt, and Jason and Jay picked William Byrd. Okay. Phoebus over Jamestown, 104-0. We're going to talk about that. Let me just roll through these few more games. We'll talk about that. Hampton defeated Smithfield. We all picked Hampton. War Hill, 59-12 over Manor. We picked War Hill. Churchland, 70-0 over Gloucester. We picked Churchland. King George over Hanover, 40-28. We all picked King George. Varina shut out Cortland, 43-0. We all picked Varina. Huguenot over Powhatan. Nobody got it wrong. Loudoun County over Woodgrove. Nobody got that wrong. Loudoun Valley over Broad Run. Nobody got that wrong. So Salem over Liberty, 55-7. Hanley over Millbrook. that's a big Winchester rivalry. We all got that one wrong. That's a big victory for Hanley, which sets up a long trip for them. Jefferson Forest over GW Danville. We picked that. EC Glass over Sharando. Again, we talked about Green Run. Deep Creek was winning that game most of the time. Green Run prevailed 17-12. And then Salem, Tallwood. That was an upset. Salem won. Jason Sterling picked Salem. Great pick, Jason. And they're going to be traveling to Green Run, and that's going to be an interesting game. Indian River over Bayside. Maury over Kickitan. Nansemond River over Granby. Kings Fork over Bethel. Warwick over Menchville. That's a barn burner game coming up with Warwick and Kings Fork. Fleming over Patrick Henry. Now, we will take a pause here. It's the only 8 seed in all of the playoffs to win. Big upset. And I will put this, guys, and we're going to talk about a little bit of how crazy all this is with the upsets and the big scores. William Fleming was only one of 2 8 seeds in classes 3 through 6. That's 16 teams. Only 2 had winning records. Hanover was the other one. And that's a big rivalry game. So Fleming is going to earn the right, to go and play Douglas Freeman up in Richmond. But that's something that we're going to touch upon and that kind of just the state of the VHSL and the disparity and those types of things.
But what people are, we all on Friday night were like, 8 beat a 1. But as an 8 seed, this goes back to like the other class 4 bracket that's super strong. Like they're 7-3. That would kind of be like if Cortland had upset
Verina.
Verina.
Yeah.
Like 7-3, and it's a rivalry game. Like you can throw the records out the window when it's a rivalry game. But yeah, it's still a 1-8. It's still a 1-8.
And we'll get on this, but with 192 teams in the playoffs, and there used to be 48. If we get some number in between there, we're probably going to get more 1-8 and 2-7 matchups that are even, but we're going to get into that. The next game, we all picked wrong. We've been impressed with Hermitage, their athletes. We underestimated. Douglas Freeman won that game 46-41. The next game, big upset, and that was Mills Godwin over Louisa County. Jason, I know you're going to know this one. Was Louisa a 1 or a 2 or a 3?
They were 2.
2.
So they were a 2, and they are also
2.
in Class 5. That was a big one. I think Godwin's a pretty good team. But that's a big upset for a 3 to go down.
Both 1 and 2 lost in that region.
Yeah. We're going to get on that. So, but Matoka and LC Bird, Matoka rolled. Rusty picked LC Bird. Massaponax over Light Ridge. We're all good. Riverbend over Independence. Madison over Langley. Herndon McLean. Herndon beat McLean. 2 of us picked McLean. That was Jason and I, and that's a very evenly matched. We talk about these northern regions. There's more parity because the regions are a lot bigger, right? And getting the top 8 teams is the sample size. And all right, here's one we're going to take a minute, debrief a little bit, and that's Yorktown over South Lakes. All right, 7-6. Jay got lots of information. That's a big one. South Lakes felt like they didn't have a lot of respect. And they hit the first round of the playoffs. I talked to some Northern Virginia coaches, but Jay, tell us about that game real quick.
Well, basically, South Lakes did not have their starting quarterback or running back. Another running back broke his ankle last week.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's the they had no offense, and Yorktown. Where did they play again? Was it Yorktown?
Yeah. Yorktown came back, I believe.
Yeah, Yorktown scored on the last minute of the game. They had a long pass, and basically won in the last seconds of the game. But South Lakes was not healthy that game, so that's no excuse. But that's why they would score 6 points.
But in some ways it can be an excuse. But if I can now, I had a huge problem with this game with South Lakes being a number 2 seed.
Yeah.
Again, we could do a whole episode on this, but there is no way that South Lakes going 10-0, winning every game on their schedule, and in that very tough district, the Concord district, should have been a number 2 seed behind Madison. Madison, and the biggest problem I have is it's not just that they beat them head to head. South Lakes beat Madison, but it wasn't like they both were 9-1 with the same record, and that would have been a tiebreaker. South Lakes was 10-0.
Right.
Maybe not as tough a schedule, but there has to be something in that formula that weighs head to head much
heavier,
more than what much heavier than whatever they got in there now. Because I'm telling you, I have not talked to anybody from South Lakes, but I was feeling that when I first saw it, and I regardless of South Lakes having the offensive players hurt, if they had played the number 8 seed, I have a feeling they could have at least advanced one round.
Yeah, and I do. Jason Sterling, you talked about this, like the power rating system is pretty good, but it does miss some, and we're going to talk about that as we keep going. It's funny, I didn't realize.
Jason looked like he got something you want to say.
Yeah, no, I'm just, you're head to head, Rusty. You've been on this for a couple of weeks, particularly since the Madison South Lakes game, and you bring up a good point. That's the one area that they do not reward you for, right? I think if there was something there that they could think about, an additional point in a head-to-head, or remove a point if you lose the head-to-head, something where there's an additional factor of relevance for bringing that as a victory and letting that factor in. And then let the chips fall where they fall after that. And then run the algorithm and see where that comes in.
But you know what? You don't even have to do a formula. The NFL just, and people's like, or in college football, it's like, oh no, you played each other. It doesn't matter what the math says. Head to head, they beat them. They shouldn't be ranked higher than them.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna tell you, y'all, I'm not trying to get on.
But what if it's a major upset on the head to head, and you got a 3-7 team that beat a 9-1 team? That's the 9-1 team's only loss.
No. I'm just saying, if you have a better record,
your
records are
record.
comparable.
Yeah.
That's the only. No, not head to head. I'm saying if you're not both 9-1, but in this case they were 10-0 and they beat them. They won the district, the hardest district in the state, and they had to be a 2 seed. That's all. That's what I'm saying. And I'll say this. I don't know if I'll keep it in or edit it, but I tell you, it's not a good look when you got all those athletes, and then Madison's got all those other people, and they get the number 1 seed. Figure it out.
Anyway, Freedom over Potomac, they rolled. Mountain View rolled over Forest Park. Highland Springs rolled over Cosby. Thomas Dale over Western Branch. That was a pretty close game, guys. I was talking to Coach Cook today, and that's a great matchup coming up with Manchester. Manchester rolled over Lansdowne 42-0. South County, number 1 seed, played West Potomac. That was 22-18 up in the tough northern.
They had just played the week before, I believe, and they're in the same district. They used to each other. Yeah.
Fairfax over Edison. I picked Edison, and Jason picked Edison. Lake Braddock, 49. Mount Vernon, 16. I talked to Coach Doherty tonight, and we are going to be picking the Lake Braddock Springfield game, previewing that because West Springfield defeated Hayfield 41-19. So razor thin, guys, on those games outside of the preview games. We already talked about our records. I believe we were all 4-2. 45-9, me, Rusty, 45-9, 48-6, Jay, and 48-6. Jason, I will say this, I think that's pretty darn good. Those are some pretty good, percentages. And then, these games get harder to pick going into next week. So, all right. So we've been talking back and forth. We've talked to a lot of people. So I want to offer up the floor to my partner, Rusty, because he's, we want to talk a little bit about the Phoebus and Jamestown
game,
104-0. And here's the thing: there's about 5 or 6 different stories here, right? There's obviously the route, and we laughed. Our buddy Daryl Overton, who's a phenomenal coach at Freedom, he's kind of off the hook now for that 112 game. But there's the margin. There's the way the game ended. There's the whole system. too many teams making the playoffs. There's the fact that some teams are stacked and other teams, are lucky to have players and the rules and all these things. But Rusty, take us into this. I'm the Phantom, you're the Bruin, but help us get started. Let's just talk about this.
So
subject.
As a Bruin, I am trained not to like the Phantoms, but they are from my city. They're from my district. Once we get to the playoffs, I'm supporting all PD teams. But this game didn't sit right with me. I'll give you a little history. My son was a captain and a player on the Colgan team that lost to Jay Golson's Freedom Eagles. Now, that story, that game made national headlines. Okay. ESPN showed or said something about it. USA Today, Washington Post, local papers. And it was a buzz on social media. Okay. This game but the difference is Freedom. Okay. There was stuff that people don't know necessarily, that Freedom's coach, Colgan's coach had been on the staff. Coach Scott had been on the staff. And I think this was about more than the kids in that situation. Phoebus, from what I understand, based on what I've been reading, they actually preferred not to play the game. All right. They would have liked to be able to rest some people. They knew it would kind of be lopsided. And they were fine if the game.
And they did rest some people. They rested Kenny Reddick, who's one of their best players, if not their best player.
Yes, and from what I read, they were playing after maybe most of the first quarter. They played second and third string athletes, but in the final score again was 104-0. They had 84 points
at half.
It was at the half.
8 minutes second half. 8 minutes second quarter.
Yeah, and. Did they actually use the running clock, or did they not? Did they say they didn't want to use the running clock?
No, they used the running clock in the second half.
They used the running clock.
They didn't take the shorter quarters.
Okay, they didn't take the shorter quarters. Second. Okay, so this is my issue with this.
And one other thing, Rusty, the Jamestown coach was offered, do you want to forfeit? He said no. That's widely publicized. And Coach Blunt, I believe, had some communication, whatever form, with his administration that they would accept a forfeit. And I do want to reiterate that Phoebus was definitely playing second and third string players from the second quarter on, and they were running the ball, I think, about 95% of the time.
Yeah. So I get that. But the things I'm going to say are this. The biggest issue I have with this, I'm not really gonna chastise Phoebus as much as I'm gonna say the adults have to be in control. I know Coach Blunt mentioned about his seniors and people wanting to get over 100, but he's got to just see a very recent history. It's not a good look. It's just not a good look. There was a lot of blowback that Freedom received last year for their win. If they just win 98, I don't think this makes USA Today. I don't think it's on, as big of a deal. But when they decided to get go over 100 points, and the way they did it by scoring, that doesn't look good. But the ones I actually blame the most, people talking about the VHSL and all that. You know what? Okay, I mean, there's only 9 teams in the region. The problem I have is the coaches in this case, the losing team, much like Colgan against Freedom, they have to be able to have a coaching strategy against teams that can do this to them. I didn't see the game at all, but I can say this. When Freedom beat Colgan last year, Colgan had no idea how to play that game. They were throwing the ball. Like, at some point, you might game plan all week, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But at some point, you go, let's get out of here. Don't throw the ball in the dirt and to stop the clock. Don't make it unfair for your team, your players who are going against Division I defensive backs, linebackers, pass rushers. TJ Bush blocked like 2 punts. There were a lot of things that could have been done to alleviate the embarrassment that those young men got. And the problem I have is that this is, yes, the kids, they lost, but it was adults who had a lot more control on the winning and the losing team that could have prevented those type of outcomes. I don't know the coach from Jamestown. I saw it where it said he was a Marine and Marines don't give up. But, if you're, I don't know what your rank was, sir, but if you're in the military, part of the job of being a leader is protecting your troops and understanding the battle. You can learn some things in defeat. Maybe they should have learned it in the 84-0 loss the week before, but you don't send your troops out there to get destroyed, knowing it's going to happen. That's not teaching them any lesson. And I feel the same thing with Colgan and the way that was poorly coached last year. Because the impact is the kids, the parents, the neighbors. Look, I don't wear Colgan football gear to certain places because the only thing some people know about Colgan High School around the country is that's the team that got beat by 100. Jamestown will be the same. I can guarantee people, and that was a part of the thing that the article talked about. This is a school that's only been open 26 years and has had 41 state championships. Their girls just won the state championship in cross country on Saturday, and nobody talked about it. All they're going to know is Jamestown is where we had that revolution thing and this loss.
It was a settlement. That was the other river, York. But I will say this. There are millions and millions of people that the only thing they'll know about Phoebus is that they won 102-0 and they scored. They hurried up on the last play. They're not going to hear that we're about to win 10 state championships in 22, 23 years after being a perennial loser. They're not going to hear about the academics, the players that are put on the next level, some of the things that are going to be done. But I would say this, everybody makes a mistake, right? I don't think it was a good call. I don't think it should have been done, but I don't think that's the whole body of work. It's easy to sit back and judge and criticize with this social media thing. We sit back, we criticize, we say things online that we wouldn't say in front of a person's face. I think Coach Blunt's a great coach. I think, obviously he made a mistake, but I don't think this defines him. But I would say this, the way that the overall fandom is acting and the way that some of the adults are acting, the way they're talking to each other and posting stuff publicly. If you ever post something on social media and you take it down, there's a good chance somebody has screenshot it. And I've seen some folks high up involved with Phoebus people, very high up officially, that have posted some things on social media that are unacceptable. This is an opportunity. We talked about this. Jason Sterling, you said everybody's going to be gunning for Phoebus. They're going to have more cameras there. Yeah. That's true. That's pressure. But also, I guarantee you, Coach Blunt, his staff is going to use that to say, look, the world is into other things. We get into the fact that with the loosey-goosey of the rules, people can go wherever they want. We talked about Prince William County. There's a disparity between top teams and bottom teams. You look at the top team on the PD and the bottom team in the peninsula. Some of those bottom teams in our years were damn good teams. There's a disparity now. Too many teams. 192 teams are making the playoffs. 3 through 6 had 16 8 seeds. Only 2 of them had winning records. Guys, I looked into the 7 seeds. There weren't a lot of winning records on the 7 seeds, and the 6 seeds weren't much better. It's watered down.
I don't know. You know what? I don't have a problem. I'm serious, y'all. Like, everybody's talking about it being too many teams. I don't have a problem with the number of teams. It's just one round. If you win, you're okay. Now it's look, that round's over. Now this is where everybody wanted to be. But guess what? Now Fleming has advanced, and we never would have gotten that. Okay, and if we did, it might have been. We wouldn't have gotten. Actually, Fleming would not have made your postseason. Okay, and I don't have a problem. It's right now we're where everybody said they want to be. And if it is a disparity, then play your subs, whatever. And I'm not mad at Coach Blunt at all. I'm not mad at Coach Overton at all. I will point the finger more, if I'm going to point the finger, at administrators who decided to play the game, who decided that the region was going to have how many teams. I would point the finger at athletic directors who should have maybe come together at some point, even during the game. But I would also point the finger at the losing coaches more than anything. Because it's I know you've done this. Some of you all say you did this to teach these young men not to quit or whatever, but I want to know, what is your speech to them after the game and on Monday when they're turning in their equipment? Because I could tell you this, at Colgan, the coaching staff did not take responsibility. So I hope your coaches y'all didn't lose, we lost, because at Colgan it didn't happen. And I just hope y'all lost. And everybody understands that, because those kids are the ones that have to deal with it for a much longer time.
I mean, I want to get Jay and Jason's take, and I just say this, there are lessons in that. You know, sometimes in life you get defeated and it's not honorable. Bad things happen. How do you handle that adversity? Because life can be tough. And this is a great teaching example. Those Jamestown kids will learn a lesson from this. Jay, what's your take, man?
Well, like I said, I mean, both sides are wrong. I mean, if you're, trying to score 100 points in the last second of the game, that's not, good sportsmanship. On the other side, if it were me on Jamestown, I would have actually broken a leg, went offsides, personal foul. I would have ended the game right, the third quarter. It would have been over.
That's one of the things Jay, and I know you don't mean you would actually break somebody's leg, but that's one thing I've always worried about, is that when you're doing this, kids that are getting embarrassed like that could really do some bad things. Imagine being a senior knowing this is my last game.
It happened to me. It happened to me at Potomac, the last game of the year. Second quarter, the game, we had a brawl. And the game ended 35-0. We kicked, the kicker broke his leg on the outside, on the extra point, broke his leg, and the game was over. So that's what you did. Someone wanted to do an onside kick or
guys, who forfeited to Sussex Central? Somebody forfeited rather than
it was Cumberland.
Cumberland, the 0-11 team.
Yeah. So look, Cumberland was 0-10. They got a playoff spot. So Rusty, I hear you about, you're okay with the number of teams. I just feel like we have got this thing so watered down. We're rewarding 1-9 or 0-10 teams. I mean, our society is, if that's what we're trending towards, to give people a playoff spot, I'm not sure what that teaches right there.
Oh, I agree. What I would say is some those regions need to not let everybody in. Like those regions, maybe the top 6 or the top 4.
So the regions, I don't know if you guys know this.
The regions vote.
The regions have the autonomy to skin the number of teams down. So you had 2 regions do that. You had region 5D, skin it down to 6 teams, where you get 2 bye teams and then 4 other teams.
That's Briarwood.
And region 4C do the same thing. That region that Phoebus is in with Jamestown is only 9 teams. They should have made that decision before the season started to say, hey,
yes,
I gotta assume 6, 7, 8, 9 are not going to be that great. Let's do this. And your whole thing about Fleming, that's a 17-team region is William Fleming's in. So 8 seed
doesn't make sense.
They're an okay team, right?
Yeah.
What I think has to be done, there has to be more balance on the sheer numbers of teams, right? Or you can't have a 17-team region and a 9-team region. It just does not make sense.
We don't have to go down the road, but why do the Winchester teams, who are right here near Loudoun County, go down to Lynchburg and Roanoke and all that to make that a huge? And then we got Boston. That doesn't make sense.
The issue you're going to find, Kirk, when you get down to class 2 and 1, you get to the rural schools. I actually ran the math on this. You guys are going to love this. You could, if you set it up where you sort of re-ranked everybody just 1 through 32 within your class and just said, hey, one's going to play 32 regardless of region. That's been, people have thought about doing that. 2 plays 31 and then you shrink it down. You can't do it in the smaller classes. You've got a school, Thomas Walker, which is out in Lee County, Virginia, in a town called Ewing. If they were actually make the playoffs, you could have them playing Northampton, which is on the Eastern Shore.
Yep.
That's 535-mile bus ride.
Yep.
It's not going to happen.
Yep.
Right. Look, Jay's getting sick to his stomach thinking about it. So it just can't happen. I mean, you honestly could get to Tallahassee, Florida. No kidding. Faster than you could go from that one school in Virginia to the other school. So geographically, the state is so challenged with this. So, I think something that the higher classes could find a way to do this. You're just not going to be able to do it in the lower classes. So look, there's a lot to your point, and maybe we'll put a bow on this. There's a lot of finger pointing to potentially go around. I think it's an imperfect system. I think you had both coaches make terrible decisions. I think Jamestown should have taken the shortened quarters. I think, Phoebus certainly shouldn't have thrown a pass on the last play of the game. I mean, that 100-point number sticks in everybody's head. And you just got to – it was a perfect storm, guys. It was a perfect storm. And, guys like us, 5 of us are going to sit around and talk about this thing till the cows come home, because that's what drives the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to just say one thing. Jay, or one of you made the point that they threw the ball or did they ran the ball a lot? But that's Phoebus' strength. Like you're not that offensive line, and I'm probably sure 2 and 3 deep, running the ball is actually their strength, and you're not doing anybody any favors by running. I guess I say you can't tell the kids to take a knee. You can't tell the kids not to try, but that's why you just have to not do it or short.
I think it's pretty simple. I think if Virginia institutes a rule at 80 points, the game's called. It's whether that's second quarter, third quarter, or 10 seconds left in the game. Or you call the game.
I know in our game with Freedom, they didn't do the running clock until the second half. And I think I was up there with you, Jay, in the booth, and the official said it starts in the third quarter.
That's the rule.
It's 35. I know it is, but if it's 35 zip after 2 minutes, run the clock. Yeah, run the clock.
I thought about that too. A super clock, what I call it, which is at some point, my number was 50 in my head. If you get to then you just, whether that's first quarter, second quarter, whatever, you run it. And then
I agree with that.
My theory is at 65 points, you mandatory shorten the quarters. Don't let the coaches make the decision, because most coaches are going to have too much pride, and they're going to be like, hey, I want my kids playing the whole game, similar to what the Jamestown coach did. So
great game. So real quick, wanted to just ask everybody still watching, make sure that you subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter at the Kirk and Bird. This is the Jay Golson Remax. Jay Golson, Player of the Week. Jay, did you pick somebody from Chesterfield County? Who's your Player of the Week?
7 touchdowns.
Oh, that's right.
485 yards rushing. Freedom's Jeff Overton.
Jeff Overton.
He almost had 300. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's on a team with tons of weapons. I mean, there's all kinds of places to go. And Coach Overton spreads that rock around. So that's very impressive. So,
yeah.
Jay, you will be donating to his charity of choice.
All right.
Before we close.
All right. Well, look, guys, thank you very much for joining us. This has been we talk so much because it's the best time of the year. It is the absolute best time of the year. And just like the regular season, it goes so quick. Like we're going to blink and it's going to be the finals. Now I'm trying to savor and enjoy it, but it's just going fast. But I'm enjoying this ride with you guys. So for Jason Sterling, Jay Golson, Kirk Hilliard, this has been the Kirk and Bird Show. We are out.